5 men have appeared in court in India charged with the abduction, rape and murder of a 23-year-old woman in Delhi. The victim and a male friend were attacked on a bus there on December the 16th. She died 2 weeks later in a hospital in Singapore. The case has sparked outrage in India and across the world and has prompted a debate about the treatment of women in the country. Today's hearing was behind closed doors, but if the men are found guilty, they could face the death penalty. Well, joining me is the British-Indian journalist and editor of The Liberal Conspiracy, Sunny Hundal, and feminist writer and satirist, Kate Smurthwaite. Many thanks to both of you for joining us this evening. Sunny, if I could start with you, are you surprised by the protest this case has prompted?
Yeah, I am. I mean, usually there are a lot of cases like this and nothing really happens, and the media doesn't really pay much attention to what's going on in terms of violence against women. So this is definitely new, and this is definitely, I think, taken everyone by surprise, in India especially. Kate,
why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, the obvious reason is because this woman is from a family who've immediately come to the press, who've immediately spoken out about it. There's, in a way, an echo of the Savita Halappanavar case in Ireland, where, again, the family just kind of went, we're going to talk about this, we're not happy about this, we're going to make a fuss about this. And again, of course, it's also because she's from a very middle-class family. When this sort of thing happens around the world to people from left privileged backgrounds, of course, less fuss is made. So, although, of course, it's an incredibly tragic case, if it does highlight, a problem which exists in a lot of countries, in a sense, it's very, very useful to raise this issue.
And Sunny, do you think this case will change anything in India?
I hope it does. The Indian government is incredibly rubbish when it comes to trying to deal with issues around this area. Violence against women is quite common there, and so they really do need to do more, but they haven't done enough. And part of the problem is a lot of the MPs in the Indian Parliament themselves face charges for assault. So I'm sceptical that much will happen, but I do hope something will. But, it's still early days, and the Indian justice system just takes years to go through anything.
Okay, why are some women in India treated so poorly?
Well, the bottom line is that it's a problem around the world, isn't it? We know, because whenever we raise issues about the way that women are treated in the UK, immediately the response is, well, it's worse in Saudi Arabia, well, it's worse in other parts of the world, it's worse in the developing world. And the answer is that, it's a historical legacy, and it's been going on for a long time, and there's a lot we can do. And we sort of run that risk that we raise the issue in the UK, and then people say, well, it's worse in other places. And then when we point out how bad things are in other places, people say, well, it's not perfect in the UK, and they're quite right. There's a lot that we can actually learn here about what's happening in India, and there's a lot that we could do to improve the system here. There are certainly people in this country who are being raped and who aren't getting justice. There's certainly situations in this country where gang rape is taking place, and horrifyingly, the victims are not being given a good hearing and not being given a chance to have their case heard and to have the perpetrators accurately and carefully punished for these things. At the same time, the situation in India is a lot worse. And I think we have to look at those countries where the situation is better, not perfect, but better, places like Scandinavia, where a lot of progress has been made, and say, let's take that progress and spread that to other countries and ensure that women around the world benefit from that.
Because these protests have been so high profile, it must give women in India a lot of hope.
Well, I hope so, and I think it's great news if women in India feel actually we're being taken seriously for once, and actually although of course it's tragic that it has taken this kind of an incident to have this happen, but I've personally seen the scenes of women on the streets of India, making a fuss, demanding their rights, making these points, and inevitably there's been a backlash. Right-wing religious groups have immediately come out and made very unpleasant, and especially to Western ears, terrifying statements about women's place being in the home and all this kind of stuff. But these people are coming out of the woodwork, and the reaction is a very broad one. And so in that sense, I hope that becomes a broader movement that rolls and deals not just with the rape situation, but with a lot of other issues as well, women in education, contraception, healthcare, those things.
And Sunny, what do you think the government can do to help this process?
Well, there's lots of ways they could change things. For example, enforce the law properly, have more women police officers, actually pass stronger laws against protection of women. They also tolerate a lot of low-level assaults against women and sort of molesting against women. So that needs to be changed. Have more social provision for women who, for example, have already been raped or assaulted. Try and help them. So, you know, there's actually a whole spectrum of issues that they could deal with and they could help with here, and they're not doing enough. And that's why, I mean, I was at a protest earlier today at the Indian High Commission on the same issue. So we hope that there will be international pressure on it too.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm afraid I'm going to have to leave it there. Sunny Hundal and Kate Smurthwaite, thank you very much for joining us.